Hello, people. I want to do a short video here because I want to explain. So I did a couple videos on Anthony Aralotta, and there's a couple other rats I want to talk about too. Now, Anthony Aralotta, after I did my videos of him, had people come into my chat room, threaten me. Uh, People are trying reaching out and telling me what a badass he was and threatening me. And I want to let people know one thing. These guys are nothing like they used to be. You got to remember, these guys are rats. They're informants. They're cowards. When the time came for them to do their time, they cannot do their time. They made deals. They turned in their best friends. And just recently, I was dealing with another guy, and I really didn't know much about him. But just so you know, his name is Frank Fortolino. And if I said that name wrong, I really don't care, Frank, because you don't deserve to have your name said correctly. But I want to read an article about this guy who's going around talking about all his big things he's doing in the mob back in the day. Okay, there's an article out. It was written in 2004. It's called Coffee Kid Delivers Bonanno Boss a Big Jolt. So here's what it says. The kid who fixed coffees for the Bonannos stirred up some trouble for mob boss Joe Messina yesterday as he reluctantly took the witness stand to shed light on the crime family's lucrative illegal gambling operations. Frank Fortolino, 34, testified in Brooklyn federal court that he carved his niche working at the 10 mob-run cafes in Queens over 2 decades. So he pretty much worked in the cafes around gangsters, including one that operated in a building owned by Messina. I would supervise gambling machines. I made espressos and cappuccinos, Fortolino told the U.S. Attorney Robert Hennick, adding that he also watched the door at the legal Baccarat card games. The lowest of the 7 mob canaries, basically bottom of the barrel, he's not what he says he is, people, to sing against Messina so far. Fortolino told jurors that the Bonanno boss received a cut of the gambling profits wise guys earned on the street. Does the money from the gambling machines go to the captain of the boss? Hennick asked. Yes, that's what I was told. So basically, he's testifying against stuff that people told him while he was working in the cafe making coffee. So that is good enough for the feds. He sat there and heard stuff. And now he's passing it on to the feds. And as we know, Messina became a rat too. But this was the beginning of the downfall because they would take anybody. They would let anybody get up there and say stuff that they heard. It's not like he spoke to Messina. It's not like he knew him. He was a coffee boy. This article, you can find it. This is exactly what it says. It's from his own mouth. He made espressos and cappuccinos. He said that. Does the money from gambling machines? Okay, let's say, yes, that's what I was told, the low-level turncoat said. And recall how one good fellow called Messina the man in the White House because of the Bonanno's boss Casablanca restaurant in Maspeth, Queens. So once again, he was told that the boss was Messina. Told. But Fortolino, who comes from a long line of gangsters and called himself a mob associate since birth, revealed he spent months stewing over whether to squeal on Messina before signing his cooperation agreement in April. I didn't want to testify against Mr. Messina. Mr. Messina, okay. That sounds like he really knew him, doesn't it? I'm very fond of Mr. Messina, the Sicilian-born Fortolino told defense lawyers David Breithart during cross-examination. So if you would see lately, Frank Fortolino has been going around telling all these tall tales. Eventually, Frank Fortolino went into the witness protection program. And while he was in the witness protection program, he was committing more crimes. And the feds got really mad at him for doing that. But you know what? He got away with it. So these are the people the feds want to testify. You know, this guy, I talked the other day about Anthony Aralata, but this guy's not Anthony Aralata. But what happened though, John Alite came out and said, "Oh, I knew Fortolino from the streets." I doubt it. John Alite does that to give people street cred when he doesn't have street cred himself. So once again, we have another guy running around in this genre, the mob genre, being something that he's not, which we have many of them. Say what you want about Anthony Aralata, but at least he was something. He was a snake, Anthony Aralata, but he actually, had a reputation and actually was a made guy. Now, Fortolino, I think I'm not sure, but I could have sworn that I heard Tom LaVecchia say that he added them on as a made guy. That's like saying that you're a baseball player and your father's Willie Mays, and you turned out to be a little coffee boy shithead rat. You are not anybody in your family above you. You shamed your family. Then what did you do? When you came out and you got another chance in life, you took advantage of it once again, like you've been doing your whole life. And then he comes on these platforms and he threatened me the other day. Now, I didn't even know nothing about this guy. So I did some research on him. And when you do research on these guys, it's amazing. You see their cases and you wonder why the feds even dealt with these people. So this guy's like the lowest of all the people that ratted. And he admits he's a coffee boy and he makes cappuccino. And the government takes him serious to put other mob associates away. So these guys that accept these guys into their communities and stuff, I know you have no shame, but before you start insulting other people, you should look at the people around you. Frank Fortolino was basically a low-level, very low-level guy that was on the fringe of the Gianni crew. Come on, that's it. Do you think that they relied on him? Do you think that half the stories that he tells are true? Probably 9 out of 10 of them aren't true. But in this genre, the mob genre, people are willing to believe anything that these guys bring to us, especially the rats. They could tell us anything, and they do it every day. Hootie Russo was the biggest drug dealer since, what's his face? Scarface. And then we have John Alite. He killed 40 people one day and 2 the next. And then you have one guy, Larry Mazda, that ran around and hung out the car and blew people away. And he was he was the sidekick for one of the most evil gangsters ever, according to him. You got John Panisi, who says that he was made within a couple years in the mob, and then who went and snitched, even though he didn't have to snitch. You got Bill Catullo, whose father was murdered. So what did he do? He used as an excuse that he ratted on the guys that murdered his father, even though his sisters say that's bullshit. That's not why he did it. He owed a lot of money on the streets. That's why he did it. We can go on. Jimmy Calandra, another one. Shoots a woman in the face. He'll say, "Oh, I wasn't there. I mean, I didn't pull the trigger," but he was standing right next to him, the guy that did pull the trigger. And then he talks bad about those people. And then he'll say that I did it because Spiro killed my friend, which we know is bullshit. Another guy with a story that's a rat. And it goes on and on and on. It doesn't stop people. Frankie Pasqua gets out. What does he do? He chokes his son out. He's back in prison now. I'm surprised they put him back. I'm surprised the feds didn't say, well, Frankie, don't do that again. Bad boy. You know, and you guys that think that these guys, these rats, are anything popular. I mean, Gene Barillo literally stalks women, gets in trouble for it. Women that want to break up with him, he won't let them go away. He doesn't walk away from them. Another guy. What kind of characters are these? These are not the gangsters, people. I'm not going to mention Sammy Gravano and Michael Francis because they are. I'm not going to even mention Mikey Scars. You know why? Because the three of them actually were legit. But when you get to I'm sorry. Let me say Fortolino. Okay, when you get to Fortolino, when you get to A-Light, and when you get to these other guys, Calandra and stuff, these guys were in the street. They wanted their whole lives. They wanted to be gangsters. It's like what they say with this Fortolino when he considered himself an associate when he was 3 or 4. Just because family members were made people in his family, so he thought it was owed to him. But I bet you none of his family ever ratted. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong, but he did. Who knows how much time he would have done? I don't even know if he has a body. How do we know what he tells us? And then when these guys do a 302 and they know they're going to get out, they'll make themselves even bigger on their 302s. They'll say, oh, I did this and I did this because they know they're going to get a freebie. They're getting a mulligan. They're getting a mulligan from the United States government. And then what do they do when they come on? And look at every one of them. What do they do when they come on here? Into the genre. If somebody comes along and sticks up to them, they start saying horrible, vicious things. And guys like me, I haven't ratted. You can look at my record and see what I've done in my life. I'm talking about my legitimate record, not the lies that these guys make up around here of things I did. But you could pull my record, and everything on my record is there. You can pull these guys' records, and you can see what's there. And it's some of the sleaziest crimes around. Punching women in the face, knocking teeth out of their mouths. And this Fortolino guy, who I barely knew, decides because he wants to do it in the honor of defending somebody that he's going to start saying things about me that aren't even factual. He's taking them as factual from other people. And this is what they do. When Arellano started talking to me, here's some of the things he said. He said that I kidnap boys. I kidnap girls. 3 times he said I kidnap. I'm just running around kidnapping everybody. And then Fortolino said the same thing. A-Light called me and Danny Trio. Said we go into McDonald's and we steal children. Real gangsters don't do that. Could you picture like a John Gotti or any of those other gangsters saying that to people? They basically just hear things and go, oh, it's true. But people, why don't you listen about what these rats did? Why, you guys are great at checking up on people. You love checking up on people, tearing their lives apart, seeing if they're the real thing legit. Why don't you read up on these guys? Why don't you read up on this article right here that I pulled up on Frank Fortolino, where he admits he was a coffee boy? Once again, Frank Fortolino testified in Brooklyn court. I would supervise gambling machines, which means he was in a coffee shop and watched gambling machines. Not supervised, he watched them. I made espresso and cappuccinos. I kept the guys happy. I made them coffee. And then they even call him the lowliest of the 7 mob canaries to sing against Messino. They call him the lowest. And his evidence was hearsay. That's what the feds accept nowadays. It's RICO. If you're in the building, if you're, you could say whatever you want. and you can convict people. I mean, that's what they did when they went after Bruno up in Springfield. They had an agent talk to him and then go back and write an 8302. That's what it's called. And poor Bruno never knew he had it and got murdered for it. Because an FBI agent decided to go back and write something out against a man. And then that FBI agent claims that he was full of it. That he said Bruno was not a snitch. Cliff Hedges, that very same FBI agent that wrote it out, later said that he was not an informant at all. And you can't make this up, people. It goes on and on. It's like, which side is lower? I never thought I'd come into a community where I feel like the good guy. And believe me, I'm not. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. But when you got this guy, Frank Fortolino, the guy's my age. And he's running around talking about, I'm listening to all his interviews. He did one with Jeff Nadeau. He did one with Tom LaVecchia. And if you listen to those interviews, then read what he did, it's like, wow, dude, that's not what you did. But yet these guys who consider themselves big top, Jeff Nadeau and Tom LaVecchia consider themselves top guys, but they're willing to take anybody's word of what they did. And lately, one of the cases we have these guys whose family we have a few of these guys in our genre, whose family were actually real made guys, mob guys. These guys make Anthony Raimondi look legit. That's how bad these rats are. I just wanted to get that off my chest. And if I upset you rats, if I upset you guys that defend these rats, I really don't give a hoot. But this is ridiculous. Man up. Look at these guys. Now a coffee boy's being treated like he was a big-time gangster. A coffee boy who admitted he was a coffee boy. And now he is like Al Capone. People, that's all I have to say. Please like and sub to this channel. This is just me ranting. But you know what? I had to get that off my chest, and I'm going to enjoy dropping this. Take care, people. Thank you very much.